This is the Louie Tee Network.
I'm ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Overtime! And we head to overtime.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie Tee. Welcome to Sunday Night Football Overtime. And literally the name fits tonight as the NFL tossed us up another gem. AFC West family business of the highest order. Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Denver Broncos. This game was flexed into Sunday night. Out went the Jets and the Patriots. In came the Broncos and the Chiefs. And boy, were we treated to some outstanding football in this one. I'm going to break this game down in its entirety. Hell, the overtime deserves its own special breakdown as that was as unique an overtime as you will find. Some crazy and interesting decisions made there and a wacky finish even down to the very last play. We're going to discuss it all here. Wow, what a game. Let's first set the table before we eat, man, and we going to eat good tonight. Wow, that was a hell of a ball game. But first and foremost, if you haven't already done so, go ahead, subscribe to the Louie Tee Network for more great content in 2016 and beyond. We're changing the game over here. I want you to help us do that by simply hitting the red subscribe button on YouTube to become a member of the Louie Tee Network and help us change the game over here, man. It's games like this that make it fun to do what it is I do, man. And this was one hell of a football game. So come on aboard, man. Join the Louie Tee Network by subscribing on YouTube to this channel that's about to take off. And I want you to be a part of it when it does happen. Also, I'm on Twitter. @InTheLabRoom is the Twitter handle. You know what to do. Follow me on Twitter. And if you're looking to stay abreast of like a night like tonight, where because it goes to overtime and everything's so wacky and I got to change everything up, and it takes a little bit longer, you might, I might go to sleep, or I might join him when he comes on, I don't know. Boom. Just wait. All you got to do is wait till I hit that button to start up the live feed. You following me on Twitter, just like that, you know exactly when I start that live feed, and boom, you can join me in progress just like that. That's why Twitter is your best friend when it comes to my channel. And that's why you need to follow me on Twitter @InTheLabRoom and turn on those notifications. And also I'm on Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. Going to do some different things with that page down the road. But again, get ahead of the curve, because when I decide to start putting some exclusive content up there, you don't want to be left in the dark. So go ahead, follow me on Facebook, or like the Facebook page, I should say. And then also you want to be abreast of what's going on with the channel. Twitter is going to be your best friend there. @InTheLabRoom. Go ahead and give me a follow there. And of course, first and foremost, before you do anything else, you make sure you subscribe to the Louie Tee Network on YouTube. That is for sure. So, man, what a football game. And it was funny. Before I even start this breakdown, I was talking to someone on one of my other programs, Lockdown Coverage, after the Raiders won, and I'd broken that game down, and someone said, who do you think is going to win the division now after the Raiders won this game? And I said, look, man, I'm sticking to my guns. My gun is fully loaded, and it's been loaded with Kansas City Chiefs bullets all season long. Before the season started, I told you I thought the Chiefs was the best team in this division. That's who I thought was going to win the division. I haven't been right about many of my divisional picks this season. You know, going back and looking, it's great to look at those videos. It gives you a little bit of perspective and just proves that we know nothing. You think you know, you have no idea about this league and how crazy it is from year to year and who's going to be good, who's not going to be good. But one of my predictions that I made that still has a chance to come to fruition is this Chiefs team winning the AFC West. I still think that they're going to be the team that has their hands raised at the end of this thing when it's all said and done. They've already beaten the Raiders once. They got them at Arrowhead. The Raiders have to go on the road in the division all 3 of those games. Chiefs, Chargers, and Broncos at the end. That's tough sledding for the Raiders. And so we're going to see what this Raiders team is made of when they got to go on the road. And I know they've been road warriors all season, 5-0 on the road. I get it. I understand. But it's different when it's in a division. And this Chiefs team, I've talked about them all season long. I said, look, it's never pretty. It's always gritty in a W with this Chiefs team, though. No one gives them the credit they deserve. Why? Because Alex Smith is their quarterback. Why? Because it's never pretty. Why? Because no, they're not going to have 500 yards of total offense. No, they're not going to score 47 points. But what they are going to do is play some impressive defense. What they are going to do is take care of the football. Not going to have many turnovers. What they are going to do is do whatever it takes to win. And that's what they did in this ball game on the road. And of all the teams in that division, they're the one that goes 2 mile high and wins, it seems like, every year. And I don't know if anybody else in this division can lay claim to that. The Chargers, they don't have a problem going there. The Raiders, actually, I think they might have went there last year and won. Check that out. I'm not sure, but I believe the Raiders went on the road and won there. But tell you what, man, the Chiefs, they're getting it done. That's their second win of the season on the road versus an AFC West opponent. Look out for these Chiefs. And that's the perfect segue into likes, dislikes, banana in the tailpipe of this thrilling Sunday night football game. Let's jump into that right now. All right, so let's jump into this game. This was wow. This was one of those games that just has your jaw dropping because of all the twists and turns. The first half of this game, it didn't look like it was going to be much of any kind of offensive explosion, and we got that in the second half. Literally an offensive explosion from both of these teams who seemed to could do nothing right offensively in the game in the first half, and that kind of trickled into overtime. So let's break this game down. Likes, dislikes, banana in the tailpipe. I'm going to start with the team on the road as we customarily do, that being the Kansas City Chiefs in this ball game. Justin Houston is the first thing that has to jump off the screen at anybody that watched this football game for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's his second game back. Last week, ho-hum performance versus Tampa Bay. Again, you're not expecting much out of this guy in his first couple of starts. Maybe not even at all this season. Remember, he's coming off of total knee reconstruction, ACL, LCL, and they described it during the telecast. So you're not really thinking you're going to get much out of Justin Houston, maybe at all this season. Just he's out there, he's a name, and he's a guy that can, make a play here or there. But this guy was in rare midseason form, second game back off of the knee surgery. And we talk about this all the time with guys coming off of surgery. Oh, you got to give them time. You got to allow them to come back and kind of get back into the swing of things, get their sea legs and get their football wind and all that stuff. And you just throw all of that out of the damn window with Justin Houston. He came in and wrecked this first half for the Denver Broncos. He was literally a one-man wrecking crew. 3 sacks in the first half, one of which forced a safety, the first points of the game for either team, which set off a chain of events that allowed the Chiefs to score 9 points in about a 15-second period of game time. And all of that was kicked off by the mistake. And me and my dad were sitting watching this game, and we said, mistakes are going to be the difference in this game. And I think the Broncos were the ones that made the mistakes in this game that ended up costing them at the end. And that was the first one with the muffed punt by, and he had 2 in the game by Jordan Norwood. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But Justin Houston was a man amongst boys. He single-handedly got Ty Sombralo benched in this game. Then went to the other side and actually got the safety from the left side of the offensive line when he was destructive on the right side, forced Sombralo out of the game, and then it promptly goes over to the right side and blows up a play and sacks Trevor Siemian and gets a safety. I mean, he was just phenomenal in the first half of this game. And it wasn't just sacks. I mean, he made a huge play on a 3rd and 1 early in the game to get a tackle for no gain to force a punt. He was in the backfield all night long making tackles. This guy was just everywhere. And his counterpart on the night was doing the same exact thing on the opposite sidelines. We'll talk about him. If you don't have an elite pass rusher on your team, tonight was the game you watched and you said, man, we need one of those. I know I was doing that. Watching this game, I was just drooling over both Von Miller and Justin Houston saying, man, I would love to have one of those. Boy, would I ever. I mean, and just looking at both teams defensively, you're saying, man, I could use one of those. I could use one of those. I could use one of those. How about Eric Berry tonight, man? Good grief, boy. It's fun watching good defensive players play the game. I'll tell you that much. Tyreek Hill. Tyreek the Freak, man. This dude, I've been talking, and if you've been following me at all this season, if you've been watching Louie Tee Live and when I do my rookie wall, I've been talking about Tyreek Hill for weeks now, hell, months. I've been saying, look, watch out for Tyreek Hill. I've been telling everybody about Tyreek Hill. I said, look, this guy's going to bust one soon. Trust me, he's getting close. Every time he touches the football, I'm telling you, for me, everything stops. I got to see what this guy's going to do. And I've never had that feeling with the Chiefs. Okay, I haven't had that feeling with the Chiefs since Dante Hall was a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. I haven't had that feeling with the Kansas City Chiefs since Trent Green was their quarterback. Okay? Since Priest Holmes was their running back. Since Larry Johnson was their running back. Since Tony Gonzalez was at tight end. Since they actually used to score points. I've never had a reason to watch Chiefs football other than, hey, the Chiefs play defense and they're going to grind you into oblivion and they're not going to turn it over. But to have a dynamic presence on their team, they haven't had that since the good old days of Trent Green and company and Dante Hall returning kickoffs and punts. They haven't had that. Tyreek Hill gives them that. He's a must-see football player, and I think he's one of those guys, and I've been saying this all year, you got to find ways to get him the football. And they did that in the first half, whether it was on a kickoff, a free kick, a punt return. He almost broke the opening punt after the Chiefs defense was able to get a stop. He almost broke that for a touchdown. Shoestring tackle by Justin Simmons to stop him. He was gone. That was a touchdown. Then he did break it on the free kick. They tried to kick it and angle him towards out of bounds. He catches it anyway and still returns it for a touchdown. He's the first player since Gale Sayers in 1965 to have a kickoff return, a rushing and receiving touchdown all in the same game. Yes, Tyreek the Freak is for real. And if you don't know his name, now you know. Tyreek Hill. Serious business. If this kid didn't have the domestic violence on his rap sheet, he would have been a first-round pick. That's how dynamic he is. I told you I thought he was the fastest player in the league. I stand by my story. That 4.25 is real. It's legit. You saw it tonight over and over and over again. Wow. That's the Chiefs' first half. Really, there weren't many things you could talk about. The defense for the Chiefs was outstanding. Special teams for the Chiefs was outstanding. That was it. And I basically named the two guys that stood out on those two units in the first half. You go to the Denver Broncos in their first half. Justin Simmons with the tackle on Tyreek Hill is alike. If he does not get that shoestring tackle, Tyreek Hill has 2 returns for touchdowns in this game. And they single-handedly probably lose this game in the first half just on Tyreek Hill returns alone. But Justin Simmons, who was the star and hero of that Saints victory on the road a couple weeks back with the hopping over the center or long snapper on the field goal attempt, blocking it, allowing Will Parks to scoop and score and get the 2-point conversion on that extra point, did it again with a huge shoestring tackle of Tyreek Hill. He's gone if that doesn't get accomplished. That was a big play. Von Miller. My goodness, man. This dude here, man, I tell you what. He's one of those guys that just never ceases to amaze me. And I thought tonight was the perfect way to sum up the way he plays the game. You want to just say, hey, look, we got to find a way to block Von Miller and stop him from getting to the quarterback. But this guy's dropping into coverage. I mean, I can't tell you how many times he dropped into coverage tonight, stopped a play or made a tackle out in the flats. He's in coverage. He's in the backfield making tackles for loss on running backs. He's getting after the quarterback. He had 3 sacks on the night. He forced a fumble. Could have forced another one. Almost did. And you wonder why in this league, elite premier pass rushers get paid the amount of money they do. You need look no further than the 2 highest paid pass rushers in the league, in Justin Houston and Von Miller, and what they did tonight and how they displayed their talents tonight. You want to know why you pay those guys the kind of money that they command when they become free agents? Look at the games that both of those players played tonight, and you stop asking that question. Von Miller was magnificent tonight. Out of bounds. So was Justin Houston. Those guys went tit for tat. Only difference was Von Miller continued to dominate in the second half, and Houston had somewhat of an injury going into the halftime break with his shoulder, and I don't know if he had the same impact in the second half, whereas Miller continued to have a stellar second half just like he did in the first half of this game. Both of those guys were on full display tonight, and they were outstanding. You go to the dislikes in the first half of the game. Justin Houston's injury, talked about the shoulder. It was something that they tried to make it seem minor, but like I said, I didn't feel like he was the same guy in the second half. It's not that he totally fell off the map, but he wasn't the same dominant Justin Houston that we saw in the first half before the injury. Dontari Poe also left this game with an injury, and he didn't return, if I'm not mistaken. And we know how big of a part of a defense he is, and so hopefully he's okay because he's a big anchor up front for that Chiefs defensive line. And then the offense was putrid for the Chiefs in the first half. They had 5 possessions in the first half, 5 punts on offense in the first half. They just could get nothing going against this Denver Broncos defense. I thought they really took a conservative approach. They had some penalties that pushed them back. They had some sacks. Their tackles were getting destroyed just like the Broncos tackles were getting destroyed early on in this game. And so the offense really struggled because of that. You go to the Broncos first half dislikes. Capri Bibbs has the holding penalty on the punt early on, and I talked about mistakes being the difference in this game. That's a big one because it flipped the field position 30 yards on the first punt of the game. After the Chiefs get a stop, they get a situation where Tyreek Hill fields the punt, goes backwards, gets wrapped up. They're all the way jacked up back into their own 6-yard line, and Capri Bibbs has the holding penalty, which forces the Broncos to have to punt the ball again, and that's where Tyreek Hill almost pops off that first return, if not for the tackle by Justin Simmons. But in having to re-kick, they lose all of a sudden 30 yards of field position, all the way back up to the 6 and out to the 36 now. So again, in a game where defense was going to be paramount, as we saw in the first half, that's a huge swing of field position, 30 yards. That's a lot of field position there. And we saw what a team being backed up meant in this game with the Broncos being backed up in the safety that came with the Justin Houston sack. So backing the team up was big in this game, and they missed an opportunity there because of the Capri Bibbs holding penalty on the first punt of the game. Jordan Norwood muffs a punt. Broncos end up starting at their own, I want to say it was their 2-yard line after the muff punt. And that was the play to me that really kicked off the sequence of events that would allow the Chiefs to take a 9-0 lead in this game. You first start off with the Norwood muffed punt that he scoops up but gets tackled down around the 4 or the 3-yard line. And then that's when you get the sack. Because of that muffed punt, you get the poor field position. Then you get the Justin Houston sack, which is now a safety. Then that turns into a free kick. You try to kick it away from Tyreek Hill, but you can't, which then turns into an 86-yard free kick return for a touchdown. And just like that, the Chiefs, who punted on every possession in the first half, has a 9-0 lead. What the hell just happened? That's what happens when you make mistakes. You pay for them in games like this against good teams. And so Jordan Norwood had a rough night, and that was the start of that rough night there, setting off a chain of events that would see his Broncos go down 9-0 in this game. Tyson Bralo's on my dislikes list. He was abused like a rag doll in the first half, and he got benched in favor of Donald Stevenson. the ex-Kansas City Chief, and Sombrero just had a rough go of it. Justin Houston, there was one play that they showed where Justin Houston literally lifts this man up off his feet, throws his ass on the ground, and gets to the quarterback, Trevor Siemian. And after that, I think they had seen enough. Get the hell out of the game. And, man, it was rough on Sombrero. On the biggest stage, Sunday Night Football, everybody's watching. He got his ass whooped. And he didn't see the field again after giving up the second sack. And he had given up a ton of pressures before that. After that, he didn't see the field again. And so it was a rough go of it in the first half for Ty Sombrero. You go to the likes in the second half, and we go back to the Kansas City Chiefs. There was an impressive 12-play, 85-yard touchdown drive that was keyed and helped tremendously by a penalty by the Denver Broncos. And again, talking about mistakes being made, the Broncos make a huge mistake. Chiefs have to settle for a field goal, and Cairo Santos bangs it home. You're thinking, okay, now it's 12-10 after the Broncos had taken the lead. And just like that, you come back from commercial break, and they're like, wait a minute, we had a penalty, and you're wondering why is the score saying 9-10, and you're wondering why is the Chiefs offense back on the field, and they're like, yep, we had a penalty, illegal formation, too many guys on one side of the line, and sure enough, 7 guys lined up, and they made a rule a couple years back, and I remember, and I thought, oh, that's a dumb rule. Nobody's going to actually have a penalty like that, and here we are. They have a penalty like that. And it gave the Chiefs a first down on 4th and 2, and they took advantage of that, and they get in the end zone with a Tyreek Hill touchdown on a run. And just like that, it's 16-10. So I thought that was a huge – and again, at that time, you didn't think that this score would get up into the 30s. Either team would hit 30. But I thought that was a huge touchdown for the Chiefs there because, again, they were struggling offensively to get in the end zone. To give them an opportunity and have them take advantage of it, that was huge for the Chiefs. Then the recovery of the muff punt, Jordan Norwood with another muff punt. This time he doesn't recover. Instead, the Chiefs do. They didn't get anything out of that muffed punt, but it did flip the field position as the Chiefs were pinned deep in their own territory. When they punted that football, he fumbles. They are able to recover. They end up punting and pinning the Broncos deep in their territory again. So did allow them to flip the field position. And then, of course, the final drive of the game and the 2-point conversion and then the overtime thereafter are on the likes list for this Chiefs team. Who thought that down 24-16 with literally, what are we talking, 3 minutes to go in the game and no timeouts, that the Chiefs were going to come back and tie this game up? I didn't. And it was funny because Chris Collinsworth was saying when it was 17-16 Chiefs, or it was 17-16 Broncos, he said, I want overtime. I really want overtime. And my dad was like, no, they better not go to overtime. I got to go to bed. And I'm saying to myself, it can happen. If the Broncos score a touchdown, all the Chiefs got to do is score a touchdown to get a 2-point conversion, and we're tied up at 24. He's like, man, you know they're not going to do that. I said, you're right. They're not going to do that. And sure enough, you get the defensive breakdown by Phillip Gaines, and he doesn't know where the ball is, and Benny Fowler, the third, catches it and takes off to the races, and it's a touchdown. And I actually said in the moment, and I didn't think it would come back to haunt the Broncos. I actually said in the moment, Fowler would have been better off, falling down at like the 1 or 2 yard line. That would allow them to eat up the remainder of the clock, essentially. Maybe kick a field goal, whatever, score a touchdown, do whatever floats your boat, because the Chiefs needed all 3 of those minutes. We saw how long it took them. They're not a quick strike offense. We know this. They're a methodical offense. So they needed every second, essentially, of that 3 minutes to get down there and score to tie this game up. If Benny Fowler would have fell down and I know in the moment a guy catches a pass and Fowler doesn't catch many of them, you think this guy's going to stop at the 1 or 2 yard line and give up a touchdown? He's not thinking about that. He's thinking about getting in the end zone. And with that Broncos defense, you expect him to go out and get a stop and secure the victory. I get all of those things, but if he would have stopped at the 1 or 2 yard line, the Broncos are going to win this game. Instead, he goes in the end zone, and I'm looking at the clock. I said, 3 minutes left. They can move it down the field and score in 3 minutes, but I'm like, it's still the Chiefs. They haven't done it all night. To think that they're going to do it now, probably not going to happen, but it happened. They moved it down the field, and Alex Smith was ultra impressive on that drive. Some key throws, a 4th and 10 to Tyreek Hill to convert to get him down there. And then the throw to Hill again. Again, all of this with no timeouts. Looked like they were going to fall short, not get a playoff. They go back, they check it on the review. I thought it was a touchdown because he didn't have full possession of the ball until he started to roll into the end zone. So I thought it was the right call by the officiating crew to overrule it and change it to a touchdown. Then I actually told my dad, I said, even if they scored a touchdown, I had told him this before, long before they scored the touchdown, even if they scored a touchdown, they're not going to get the 2-point conversion. That's where they're going to get messed up at. And they ran to all people, Demetrius Harris, a guy that has had drops after drops this season, plagued with drops this season. They literally singled him out. They called that play for Demetrius Harris. Go box out the other Harris on the opposite sideline, Chris Harris Jr. Go box him out, and then we'll get it to you. And Alex Smith with a picture-perfect throw right on his body. It's tied at 24. Unreal. Wow. And then the overtime, back and forth. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the Broncos. But what a sequence of events there to tie this game up and send it to overtime. Let's get to the Denver Broncos likes in the second half. Trevor Siemian's pass to Jordan Taylor. I think that's on his highlight reel right now. This guy scrambles out. Justin Houston is on his ass. He's looking for his 4th sack of the night. And he stops on a dime, changes direction. There's no Chiefs in sight now. So now he can kind of buy some time. Rolls out all the way to his right and finds Jordan Taylor. Throws a absolute dart where it had to be to give Taylor a chance to catch it, get his feet in bounds for a touchdown. I thought that's his signature play of his career thus far. When you're going to show a Trevor Siemian highlight reel, that's the play that you're going to see over and over on a loop. Is him scrambling, rolling out, coming back, reversing field, coming all the way back to his right and finding Jordan Taylor in the end zone for a touchdown. That was a hell of a play. And Eman Sand had a possession where he just goes off for literally 99 yards of that Broncos possession for a touchdown. Catches a deep ball. They get a penalty that moves them backwards on their head coach for sideline interference. And then he goes and catches another deep ball, this time getting in the end zone. Both of them were on Phillip Gaines, who had a rough evening. We'll talk about him. Even though I like Phillip Gaines a lot, he got his ass roasted tonight, but we'll talk about him a little bit later on. But Eman Sand, well over 100 yards in this ball game. And I've been saying this for quite some time. He may not be the best Broncos receiver, and to me that's arguable, but he is definitely the most consistent Denver Broncos receiver, the guy that you have to worry about week in, week out. You can have a quiet Demaryius Thomas game like you had tonight. Eman Sand is going to show up each and every single week. And you saw him make some humongous plays in this game. He was definitely on my likes list in the second half. And then Trevor Siemian. Let's go back to Siemian because he was outstanding in the game, especially late when they had to have it. Some crucial third down situations. The Chiefs tried to heat him up, and he was ready. There was a big third down. They were deep in their own territory. The Chiefs tried to come after him. You were asking the question, would they trust him enough to throw it on 3rd and long? He's literally in the end zone, already having been sacked on the night for a safety in the end zone. They absolutely empty the backfield, give him an empty set, and he manipulates the pocket, finds AJ Derby for a crucial first down. Then on that same possession finds Eman Sand, or actually finds Benny Fowler for the touchdown. Then he had the possession with the Eman Sand throws, and these are all darts on the money. Talked about the touchdown. That's his signature play now. I just thought Trevor Siemian was phenomenal in the second half of this game. He deserved to win, but it just was not meant to be on this evening. And we'll talk about the overtime as we get to these dislikes in the second half. We go back to the Chiefs, wasting the muffed punt, not getting anything, not even a field goal attempt. Again, the offense wasn't at its maximum efficiency until the fourth quarter when they had to be. You get an opportunity to really change some things when you recover a muffed punt right around the midfield area, and they went backwards, had a penalty, a lost yardage play, and they he takes a sack, does Alex Smith. They're looking to set up a bubble screen, and the Broncos are all over it. And this is what family business is all about. I've seen that play already. You can't trick me. Jared Crick runs right out to the screen, Smith has to abandon it. He turns around, and guess who's waiting on him? Von Miller. And so they went backwards on that possession. I hate to see them wasting a great opportunity there with that turnover. Phillip Gaines, I talked about him being targeted on the night. 6 catches. He was targeted 8 times, 6 of which was caught for 208 yards. Let me repeat that. Phillip Gaines was targeted 8 times in this game, 6 of which was caught. 6 of which were caught for 208 yards. Damn! And I like Phillip Gaines. I liked him coming out of Rice. I still like Phillip Gaines. And I thought this secondary, they were tested tonight. And you know Bob Sutton loves to go man-to-man, mano-a-mano, and he likes to come after teams. And I thought he left his corners out there, and those boys, I thought they stood up for the most part. But Phillip Gaines was the guy that got roasted tonight. And he made some plays. He knocked down some passes. He did some good things. Had his hands on a number of passes. But, boy, when he gave them up tonight, he gave them up tonight. 208 yards on 6 grabs. You're talking about 30, 35 yards a catch on those grabs he gave up. That is whopping there. And so, Phillip Gaines had a rough evening, but like I said, he made some plays, but he gave up some huge ones when he did give up some plays. Denver Broncos, a legal formation that negates the 35-yard Cairo Santos field goal, wipes that off the board and gives the Chiefs a first down in which they would take and turn into a touchdown. Can't have that happen. That turns it a 12-10 Chiefs lead into a 16-10. And again, you take that field goal and you put it on the board and substituted a touchdown, and the Broncos probably win this game in regulation. It's those types of mistakes that lose you games against good teams. You can't make those types of mistakes and expect to win against a good team. Maybe you still win this game against San Diego. Maybe you still win this game against the New York Jets. Maybe you still win this game against the Buffalo Bills. But you're not going to win this game against the Kansas City Chiefs. You can't make those types of mistakes and think you're going to live to tell about it. And so they had to pay for that. Jordan Norwood with the muffed punt. Look, I was just proud of them for putting him back out there after the second one. I thought for sure he was done. They were going to put E-Man Sand or somebody else back there to field the rest of the punts the rest of the game. But they put him back out there. But luckily that one didn't cost them. The defense went out there, made some plays, and they had to punt. But you just can't make those types of mistakes in a game of this magnitude. A divisional game. You got a chance to get another win in this division, get a step closer to trying to get back into the divisional race and get a game behind the Raiders, and you're doing these kinds of things and making these types of mistakes. I keep talking about mistakes and them having being made on this part of the Denver Broncos. No wonder they lost this game. Speaking of which, let's get into this overtime, man. This overtime was just crazy. So Broncos get the football, move it down the field, have to settle for a field goal. They make theirs. The Chiefs get the football. They move it down the field. They get in the field goal range. They make their field goal. And so just seemed like, okay, here it is. Sudden death now. Next points win. The Broncos get into field goal range, but you're like, 62 yards really isn't field goal range. I know it's mile high and your kicker's got a big leg, but you didn't think they really were going to kick that. You know, with a minute left in the game, you're thinking to yourself, no way. You're not kicking this. Why would you? Because if you miss, the upside, look, the upside is you make the field goal and you win. Gutsy call. Everybody pats Gary Kubiak on the back for attempting such a gutsy call and a kick. Yeah, that's all nice, fine, and dandy. But if you miss, the downside to this thing is just as severe, if not worse, than if you make it, which would be game winner. I mean, just think about it. I know scare money don't make money. I say it all the time. But in this particular situation, you punt that football, and you force them to drive the length of the field, or you force them to go, 60 yards in a minute with one timeout. We know this Chiefs offense not explosive. That's not what they do. That's not their MO. You force them to drive it, and you make them get a long-distance field goal of their own. You don't give them the football literally almost at midfield and say, hey, all you need is about 10 to 15 yards to be in the field goal range, which they were able to do. And they exceeded that with the catch to Travis Kelce down inside the 20. And just think about it. Had that field goal been 2, 3, 5 yards back further, that is a miss. And so Just the fact that you attempted a 62-yard field goal, what were you thinking there? Seriously. I don't agree with that decision there, and that may be the one that cost them an opportunity at this division now, being that they've lost. They're now 1-3 in this division are the Denver Broncos. They've struggled in the AFC West this season, and I think that's going to be the one that really keeps them out of this divisional race. I think it's a 2-team race now. Broncos are still going to make the playoffs, I believe. They're going to edge out the Miami Dolphins for that final playoff spot, but know this. They had opportunities in this game. Cairo Santos, I love that guy. I've been talking about him all season long. Boy, did he get a gratuitous bounce there. Kicking that football, hitting the inside of that field goal post, having it kick and carry him inside. How many times have we seen a kicker draw iron and have it bounce right back or kick off outside and miss? And his just happens to kick the inside of the goal post and carry him inside. And no one really knew what the hell happened. Santos was sitting there looking like, what the hell did I just do? Andy Reid is looking like, did he make it? Did he miss? Von Miller's like, are you kidding me? What the hell just happened? No one knew. Was it good? You got a Denver Bronco running off the field. And I said, no good, no good. And it went in. Unreal. Like, that was the perfect finish to this crazy, wacky game as Cairo Santos gets that field goal to somehow carry him in. And the Chiefs go 2 Mile High and still won 30-27. Too many mistakes on the part of the Denver Broncos as they lose this football game. What an exhilarating finish. What an exhilarating game. And my banana in the tailpipe for the Kansas City Chiefs is that I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe that the Chiefs aren't winning this division. I still feel like this is the team that, when it's all said and done, are going to be the AFC West champs. I know the Raiders are playing outstanding football and they're finding ways to win, and all of that stuff is outstanding. It is awesome, and I love what the Oakland Raiders are doing. But this Chiefs team has something, and I think they're going to find a way to get it done. They're not flashy, they're not exciting, but they're good. And I've been talking about them all year, and I think they're good. I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe that the Raiders are going to win this division. I think this is the Chiefs' division to win here. And on the Broncos side of things, banana in the tailpipe for me, I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe that they're not still going to make the playoffs. Even though they're 7-4 and now they're tied with the Dolphins, they're still going to find a way in. I think the Dolphins might have a soft schedule down. It doesn't matter. The Broncos are going to find their way in. They're too good. They're going to figure it out. They're going to get in. Not falling for the banana in the tailpipe that they don't get in the postseason after losing this football game. So with that being said, let's jump into where this game was won.
Well, wake her ass up! We're gonna win tomorrow!
I'll be over here, like, winning. Duh.
Simple for me, cut straight to the point. This game was won by the mistakes that the Broncos made. They made too many mistakes in this game. You have the muff punt by Jordan Norwood that sets off a chain of events that allows the Chiefs to get 9 straight points, literally without the offense doing anything. He muffs the punt. They ended up with some terrible field position, and then Justin Houston gets a safety. Then Tyreek Hill, they have to kick it to him because they can't kick it out of the end zone. They can't kick it out of bounds or you'll get great field position. So what do? They kick it to Tyreek Hill. The best way they know how, by pinning him up against the sideline, and he still returns it 86 yards for a touchdown. You make another mistake, Jordan Norwood does, by muffing another punt. This time he doesn't recover it. Chiefs do and flips the field position there. Then you have another mistake by giving them an opportunity to take 3 points off the board and instead get 7, which they ultimately do off the illegal formation on the field goal block attempt. And so that's another mistake that costs you 4 points in this game. Then you have another mistake later on in the game where you allow the Chiefs to get great field position in overtime when you probably should have punted it. Look, at that point, you're playing for a tie. I understand you want to win the game. You don't want a nasty tie like the Cardinals, Seahawks, Redskins, and Bengals have. But at that point in the game, 62 yards, that's too far of a field goal for that point in the game because the ramifications of a miss probably means you're going to lose this football game, and you just can't risk that. At that point, you say, all right, we're going to have to tie. We're going to have to play for a tie. Hope we force a mistake like the Minnesota Vikings made on Thanksgiving against the Lions and throw a pick. Force a mistake. But at that point, you can't put your team in that kind of compromising position and hope that the defense just comes out and gets a stop. No, don't do that. And so too many mistakes on the part of the Broncos in this game to win. To me, that's where this game was won, when the Broncos made the mistakes that they made in this game. And so from there, we're going to go to wrapping this up. We're going to get to all of your comments. I know you guys have a lot to say about this outstanding Sunday night football game. AFC West showdown, family business of the utmost importance. So let's go ahead and wrap this thing on up. All right. So let's get to some of your comments. And I know you guys have a lot to say, so we're going to read off as many of these as we can get to. I've got 19 minutes to go. So whatever I get done in the next 19 minutes, we're going to stop this thing once this video gets to an hour. The overtime pushback already has us doing overtime here, so let's jump into this. Captain Spartan 04 says, wow, just wow, what a great, supposed to say it like Frosted Flakes game. And I did. And it was great. It sure was. Brian Moss says, what did you think about the predictable run plays on first down by the Broncos? I didn't have a problem with the run game. I actually thought that Booker, and he had 24 carries, so yes, they did run it quite a bit in this game. I thought he was solid, and it kept them, look, after seeing what happened in the first half of this game with Justin Houston and his ability to get to the quarterback and him just being a tyrant, they wanted to keep them off balance. They wanted to stay out of third and long. They didn't want to put themselves in a predictable passing situation on third downs. So I didn't have a problem. And it's not like they were getting stoned on first down every time. They were getting 2 and 3 and 4 and sometimes 5 on first down running the football. So it wasn't the best way to go about it. You would like to see them maybe play action fake off of that on a first down every now and again. But they felt comfortable staying in third and manageable, or at least trying to attempt to do so by running it on first down. So I didn't have a problem with it. Anthony Carlos says, the game was one of the best games of the year. I agree. That's definitely a game of the year candidate there. And I think just about all of them have been on Sunday Night Football. This is the fourth game, if I'm not mistaken, that went to overtime. Dallas, Philadelphia, Houston, and Indy, Seattle, and Arizona. All other overtime games in addition to this one. So I may be missing one. I don't think I am, though. I think those are your 4 overtime games. And arguably those were your best games of the season thus far. So, yeah, Sunday night has delivered in the clutch. And this is why this is the primetime platform here, because Sunday night is the best game of the weekend, generally speaking. And if you're talking primetime games, no one's close. Thursday has been horrible. And I tweeted out that the NFL is talking about either scaling back or doing away with Thursday night football altogether after the contract runs out in 2017. So we've cried about it. I've talked about how they need to either go about it by having teams coming off of a bye playing on Thursday night, or they need to get rid of it. And I think that the ratings have shown, and the players have complained enough that something needs to change with Thursday night football, and maybe we'll get change now. So it's good to see that happening. Captain Spartan 04 says, you already got a dislike on this, LOL. You are not official until the hate. Hey, man, it is what it is. You know how it goes, man. I don't really worry about that kind of stuff because you can't please everybody. I've learned that quickly, and I learned it the hard way on YouTube. And so it's all good, man. I thrive in that situation. I do. I really do. Captain Spartan 04 says, I know Pastor Lynch is supposed to be the franchise QB, but I mean, you can't really just take the starting job from Trevor, can you? He's not bad. I've been talking about this, and I talked about this earlier in the season. They've got a dilemma on their hands because Trevor Siemian is playing good enough to start for this team. And I think what it's going to boil down to is going to boil down to a Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees type of situation where they're going to ultimately say, you know what, we spent the first-round pick on this kid, so we're going to roll with Paxton Lynch. I think eventually Trevor Siemian is going to be pushed out the door, and he's going to have to go elsewhere to start. And I don't think there's going to be a team out there that won't be happy to try to get their hands on Trevor Siemian after seeing what he's done this year and what he's going to have a chance to do in the future. I think he's a guy that other teams around the league are going to look at and say, hey, look, man, he's got a much better body of work than Brock Osweiler did a season ago, who didn't start all 16 games. Simeon's going to start at least 14. I think he missed a couple of games with an injury. but he's going to start about 14 games, assuming health the remainder of the way, maybe even get a playoff start or two if the Broncos can make it to the postseason. He's going to have a body of work that says, hey, I deserve a shot somewhere, even if it's not in Denver. So that's going to be an interesting debate. That's going to be an interesting decision. But I think when it's all said and done, the Broncos are going to roll the dice on their first-round pick. That's what teams generally do. You rarely see a team say, all right, we spent the first-round pick on this quarterback, but this other guy's playing too well to send him down. Nah. What's going to happen is going to be a Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers situation where the guy that was there before that's not a first-round pick is going to be playing good football, and they're going to say, you know what, man, it was fun, it was great, but you got to go, you got to make way for our first-round pick, and they're going to put Paxton Lynch in there eventually. So I think that's what's going to happen. It won't happen this year, obviously, because Paxton Lynch still isn't really ready to play, but I think next year you may see that change come. You will see that change, I think. And at that point, if I'm the Broncos, maybe you just start looking to see what you can get for Trevor Siemian, because that contract, if I'm not mistaken, this is his second season. He's not a first-round pick, obviously, so he's only under contract for 4 years. So after year 3, you got to start looking at a package to try to get something for him instead of letting him just walk like the Patriots would do. Minddraw says, boy, Justin Houston had no rust coming back. That dude had no chill at all. He came back, was on straight fire tonight. No chill whatsoever. And that's what elite pass rushers do. That's what elite players do. Remember Adrian Peterson coming off of that ACL tear? Fastest we've ever seen anybody come back, and he rushes for 2,000 yards in that season. That's what elite guys do. They come back and make you forget all about the injury. And Justin Houston came back tonight and made us forget all about the injury. I mean, literally. I forgot that Justin Houston was even playing. I forgot that he even played last week. He made me forget quickly that he was coming off of that ACL. And, man, you were right. No rust whatsoever. All right. Make sure I didn't skip over anything. Captain Spartan 4 says, I was so jealous watching Houston and Miller. If only us Steelers could trade way up to get Myles Garrett or Tim Williams. I mean, I think everybody's sitting around saying, man, damn, I could use one of those boys, man. God damn. That's just fun to watch, man. Hell yeah, I was jealous. I ain't gonna lie. I was jealous as hell, man. I was envious, man. I would love to get one of those type of guys on my football team. Mondraw says, for as good as Von Miller is, he gave up a ton of yards on the neutral zone and fractions. You're going to have that sometimes with guys who are looking to get a jump. I take those in a heartbeat because I know what this guy's capable of. And if he times it up right, that could be a sack, forced fumble, game over like it was against Andrew Luck early in the season to seal a deal. That's Von Miller, man. You take the good with the bad in those situations. I'm all good. Robbie Sohal says, are the Chiefs now the favorite to win the AFC now? I don't know if they're the favorites to win the entire conference, but if they can find a way to win the AFC West and have teams have to come through Arrowhead to get to the AFC Championship game, and even if that's in Foxborough, they went to Foxborough last year and gave the Patriots all they could stand. They're not afraid to go into Foxborough and beat them. Remember, they jacked Brady up a couple years back on a Monday night in Kansas City, the year that the Patriots won the Super Bowl. They went into Foxborough last year. Like I said, they were all kinds of banged up. No Macklin like was the case tonight. And they were all banged up, and they still gave the New England Patriots all they could have handled last year. So they can go into Foxborough, and I think they can get it done. So I don't want to start making assumptions. They have to first win the AFC West, however, to have the best opportunity, get that bye, and get a home field advantage in the second round. But they got to start the playoffs on the road and go that route. It'll be a lot tougher for them versus being able to say, all right, we're at home and someone's got to come to us and we don't play in the first round of the playoffs. They've got a lot of things that they can attain in front of them, but they got to keep winning games, that's for sure, because the Raiders right now aren't losing many games. So they got to take care of business first. But they've got it all set up in front of them. If they take care of business, look out for the Kansas City Chiefs. Robbie Sohal says, rep them in the Super Bowl. They could. They could rep the AFC. I'm going to pump the brakes there. They got a long way to go. They got to win this division first. If they win this division, all bets are off. They got a legit shot. If they got to go the route of a wild card, I think it's going to be a lot tougher for them to navigate their way through the AFC playoffs. Robbie Sohal says, should the Chiefs be looking for a QB as a top priority? I think if they had a franchise guy, they'd be very, very good. I think they're comfortable with Alex Smith. Everyone wants to push Alex Smith out of the door because, again, he's not flashy, but to me, he symbolizes what this Chiefs team is. They're gritty, they're tough, they're not respected, and that's been the career of Alex Smith. He was the first pick overall. His early career was shunned. It seemed like he was going to be a bust. Then Jim Harbaugh comes in there, resurrects his career. He moves on to Kansas City. Andy Reid appreciates what he is, doesn't ask him to do anything more than what is necessary for this team, which is just take care of the football, put us in a position to win, don't turn it over, and give us a shot late. And that's what Alex Smith does. And like I said, it's not always pretty. And that was what was so disappointing last week in the loss to Tampa, was he threw a pick in the end zone, and that's so not Alex Smith. And that's why they lost that game. If they score a touchdown there, they win the game. And he threw the pick, and they ended up losing. And if he takes care of the football, they're going to be in most ball games, and they're going to have a shot to win. And Alex Smith is not going to win most beauty pageants when you start looking at quarterbacks around the league. But what he does is he puts his team in the best position possible to win football games. With the way they play defense, the way they run the football, with the weapons that they have around him, he does enough. And so, no, they're not going to look for a franchise quarterback, at least not right now. They don't have to, because they have a good enough team to keep building around Alex Smith to get it done. And I think, like they said during the telecast, and I thought this was a really good point, Andy Reid saw how the Broncos won last year, and he said, look, that team looks exactly like our team. They won with a quarterback position that wasn't ideal, and I think their position at quarterback with Alex Smith is much better than the Broncos' quarterbacking situation last year with Osweiler and a Peyton Manning that was well past his prime and a shell of himself. They feel like Alex Smith is way better than those two guys, and he is. And so they're looking at that team last year and the model and the blueprint that was set by the Broncos, and they said, we can do that. We can run the football. We can take care of the ball. We can play elite defense, and we can win. So, no, I don't think that a top priority is quarterback. I think they're just fine with Alex Smith. If they can just stay healthy, that's the key. Jeremy Maclin seems to be hurt every other week. They could just get him to stay healthy. That gives them another option at receiver. You see the emergence of Tyreek Hill. They've got weapons. Travis Kelce, Demetrius Harris. They've got weapons. They can do some things. They just need to stay healthy. Captain Spartan 04, he says, I'm probably not going to like the answer, but I'll ask anyway. Who goes in the Hall of Fame first, James Harrison or Tamba Hali? I don't think either one of those dudes goes to the Hall of Fame, honestly. But if I had to pick one, I'd go with Tamba Hali. Harrison has a memorable play in the Super Bowl, and he's won a couple of Super Bowls. So Harrison may get the nod first, but Hali has had probably the more productive career. But I don't think either one of those guys are Hall of Famers. I just don't. But we'll see. You know, both of them are still playing. I think both of them are well past their prime. So we'll see what happens with both of them as they finish up their careers. But Hali was dominant. There was a stretch there where he was lights out. Whereas with Harrison, talking about an undrafted guy that just stuck around and persistence got him his foot in the door after being cut some odd times by the Ravens and the Steelers. He finally gets an opportunity to stick, and he makes some things happen. Hali, since the jump with the Chiefs, has been good for them coming out of Penn State. So I'd go with Tamba Hali. Sean Mack says, what a freaking game. What a frelling game he puts, man. You ain't never lie. That was one for the ages. Sean Mack also says, how stupid was that decision to kick a field goal by Kubiak? Yeah, that was not smart there. I didn't agree with that decision at all. And I thought it cost his team. I really did. I thought that was the difference in between winning and losing this game. All the decisions that they had made, all the mistakes that they had made throughout the course of the game, that was the biggest of them all. Because even if he punts that, with all the mistakes made earlier in the game, you punt that football, we're probably talking about a 27-27 tie is what we're probably looking at. Instead, he decides to try that field goal, and we knew that was a slim to none chance that they were going to make that, and turns out to be a bad decision and one that the Chiefs took advantage of and wins the game 30-27. X-Pac 101 000 says, this is karma from when the Saints got cheated out of a win by the Broncos. Is it karma? I don't know if the football guys intervened tonight or not. I'm still not sure if that was a cheat job or not. But it seemed like the football guys may have intervened a couple of times tonight. So maybe that could be a possibility. Didn't really consider it, but now I'm looking back on it. Maybe that was a little bit of the football gods stepping in there and making something happen there. Captain Spartan 04 says, Justin Tucker would have made that 60. Yeah, he would have. Justin Tucker would have drilled that 62-yard field goal and then did some kind of dance at the end. And, Justin Tucker's the man. And that's the difference between him and every other kicker in the league. I wouldn't have put any other kicker in the league. That goes for Dan Bailey or anybody else you could think of, Vinatieri, none of those. I wouldn't have put any of those guys on the field to kick that other than Justin Tucker. He's the only kicker I put on the field in that situation and asked to go make a field goal there. Brian Moss says, losing a game of this magnitude at the crib just doesn't sit right with me. It shouldn't. It shouldn't. But the Broncos made too many mistakes to win tonight. This one stings. And if you're the Broncos, the biggest thing you can do is rebound next week and not allow this loss to linger and become 2 losses. Because this is a devastating blow. You put everything out there on the line. I thought Trevor Siemian played his brains out, and you still come up short. So now the key here is quick turnaround because it's a Sunday night game. You got to figure it out, but you got to get back on the horse, literally. You got to get back on your Bronco if you're the Broncos and find a way to get a win next week because the lingering effects of this loss could linger into next week and have a lasting effect and cause you to lose another game. And again, I just told you the Miami Dolphins are on your ass now. They may not win the AFC East, but they are starving for a playoff spot. And so you got to keep winning if you're the Denver Broncos. Sean Mack says, Simeon showed up. The defense was game as usual, and then the coach blows it, LOL. That has to be the boneheaded call of the day. I would say so. That was not a good decision by Gary Kubiak. May have sounded good in the moment, but it was not a good decision. Captain Spartan 04 says, watching this game made me question, how do teams not know how to blow out the Chiefs like my Steelers? Ha ha, very funny. Steelers, they caught the Chiefs at the right time, and that was a nasty night in Pittsburgh, wet and nasty, and they jumped on them early, and they never recovered in that ball game. Slump TV says, do you think the Chargers have a 10% chance or better of making the playoffs? No. The Chargers are dead in the water. They're finished. They had too many opportunities this season. It was a nice win for them coming off their bye week, going to Houston and winning a Texans team that hadn't lost at home. But no, the Chargers are dead. They're not coming back. They're not doing this or they're not doing it. They got too many teams that have to leapfrog. They got too many things that would have to go their way to happen for them to get in. They would have to run the table, finish the season at 10-6, and then hope for the Broncos to fall flat on their face, hope that the Dolphins fall flat on their face, and any other team that's in the AFC to fall flat on their face, Tennessee, all of those teams. I just don't see it happening. I see the Chargers just falling short, and they have no one to blame but themselves. They've had opportunity after opportunity this season to figure it out, and they just haven't. And so they're gonna have to look back on this season and say this was a season of missed opportunities for us. They should be every bit of 8-4, 8-3 right now, 7-5 at worst, and instead they're 5-6 on the season. So they did it to themselves. They should be 7-4, 8-3 right now, and instead they're 5-6. And yes, I know you have a soft schedule, remaining schedule. It doesn't matter. I don't care. They're not getting to the playoffs. All right. And let's see if we can get to some more comments. So I'm going to get to about 2 or 3 more comments here. Robbie Soloff says, come on, man. You know I'm not leaving until you give out your Super Bowl. You know I can't do that. I can't do it. As of right now, I can't do it, Robbie. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to leave you hanging on that one. I can't do it. BE says, with this loss, the Dolphins are in the playoffs and the Broncos are out. I still think the Broncos are going to find their way into the postseason, and the Dolphins will not. We'll see what happens. Sean Mack says, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, bro. I did, man. I really did. I had a great Thanksgiving and everything. And I'm back to work now, and I hope you guys as well had an equally as satisfying Thanksgiving as I did. BE says, good luck to the Redskins next week versus my Cardinals. And likewise to your boys. You guys need it more than we do. But I think at this point you're not getting in, so I'm going to go ahead and take that one. You can go ahead and give it to me, man. It's all good. I'd appreciate that. And Alex Burden says, fins up. His Fins are now in the playoffs as a result of this loss if it were to start today. But again, a lot of work has to be done. And so we'll see what happens. But, man, just think about this Chiefs defense. When D Ford comes back, with Justin Houston now on one side, Ford, and then you still got Tamba Hali, just think about what could be for this Chiefs defense. Like, you could be looking at the makings of the Denver Broncos 2.0 here with this Chiefs defense, with the way they can get after the quarterback. I love Chris Jones, that draft pick. At first when they made it, I'm like, do you really need another defensive lineman? Now I'm seeing the value there in Chris Jones. He can get after the quarterback too. I'm really liking the way things are shaping up for the Chiefs, man. They got a formidable defense, and it's only going to get better when they get healthy. They're missing a ton of guys. If Terry Poe gets healthy, when D Ford gets healthy, if Justin Houston can stay healthy, look out for this Chiefs football team. My goodness, look out for the Chiefs. So that's going to do it for this edition of Sunday Night Football Overtime, as we literally have an overtime game here for the fourth time this season on Sunday night, as the Kansas City Chiefs, Chiefs take down the Denver Broncos in Mile High 30-27 in one of the most exhilarating games you will see all season long. Twists and turns. The second half was full of different things that went down, and the overtime was just as wild and wacky as the finish was. And so the Chiefs get it done, move their record to 8-3, one game behind the 9-2 leading Oakland Raiders in that division. And remember, they have the tiebreaker currently over the Raiders. So, and these two teams will meet again in Arrowhead, and where the Chiefs will have a chance for the season sweep over the Raiders. So the Chiefs are putting themselves in a position to strike late in the season. We'll see what happens. Meanwhile, this loss, a devastating one for the Broncos, because you want to see them take care of business at home in the division. But that being said, they lose their third game in the division, already lost at San Diego, lost at Oakland, and now at home to Kansas City. So they've lost to every single team in this division at least once. And so they're going to have to clean some things up. They're 1-3 in the division. I think their division hopes have been dashed just about with this loss. Now it's all about trying to get into the postseason and having to stave off a team like Tennessee or even the Denver or the Miami Dolphins, who have taken their spot. If the playoffs were to start today, would have taken their spot from them. It's all good. I still think they're going to get in because I think they're the best team of that bunch. And you're talking Tennessee, you're talking Miami, and all of those other teams trying to find their way in, Houston included as well, if they don't find a way to win the division. So I think this was a big, big win for the Chiefs. A disappointing loss for the Denver Broncos, but I still think when it's all said and done, they're going to be better than Pittsburgh and Baltimore and Miami and Tennessee and Houston and all those other teams looking to get in that all of a sudden jumbled up AFC West or AFC playoff race. So if it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie Tee Network. Sunday Night Football Overtime. Chiefs get the win, 30-27 in overtime. Take their record to 8-3. Broncos fall to 7-4. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. I thank each and every single one of you for joining me tonight. Thank you for all of your comments. Wow, what a game. Kept us up a little bit later than normal, but that's what we're here for, to break down awesome games like that. I will see you tomorrow. Tons of lockdown coverage coming your way, breaking down all the games. And, of course, Monday Night Football Overtime. Hope that game is half as good as what we got treated to on Sunday night, Chiefs and Broncos. For all of you out there, I'm your man, Louie Tee. Thank you for joining me. See you next time. Have a good one.
Broncos won the Super Bowl when Peyton Manning retired. 49ers won 5 games and Tom Sula got fired. RG's in Cleveland and my Rams hit the West Coast. Be sleepless in Seattle, cause that 12-man ain't beast mode. Oh yeah, I knew it was something I forgot to mention. Yeah, old Tom Brady about to get that suspension. Yeah, I know the Pats fans probably think that's whack. Yeah, but at the end of the day, your balls was flat. It's that time again. It's that time again to go hard in the offseason, cause we trying to win. We gon' go so hard, we don't take no days off. Hopefully one day it's all gonna pay off. Shout out your defense, they tissue, cause they soft. Catch 'em while they sleeping, we gon' sneak in the playoffs. I'm ready for some football, I don't know about you. Who else could?